Getting in front of people with a brand, you're getting the product in front of people.
Everyone has different approaches, and I think it's a massive fine line of not annoying people, but hassling them enough. If you can get face to face with someone, you sell them on the story, not the product.
Court case.
It was my worst day in business when I found out. Everybody's going to know my business has failed. I wouldn't be able to live with it if I did give it up. A month later, I had the best day in business. I got the co-op listed.
That's just brilliant.
That was amazing, and I can't wait to have that feeling again of winning.
Hi, I'm Richard Hill, and welcome back. We're back with the 223. Welcome to the eCom at One podcast. Today, I'm joined by Fran Gresswell, founder of Riviera Iced Tea, a premium drinks brand that started at university and just a few years later is now stocked in over 400 independent retailers, major venues and national listings. This is the story of a young founder building something from scratch with persistence, resilience and a refusal to quit, even when it would have been much, much easier to just walk away. We get into the real journey, losing 12 grand to a bad manufacturer, just a year in, nearly quitting, bootstrapping through tough retail margins and navigating one of the hardest trading environments hospitality has ever seen. We talk about what it really takes to land retail listings, from literally turning up in person and selling at events to persistent timing and building genuine relationships with buyers. We also break down how Fran repositioned the brand as a premium non-alcoholic alternative and why personal branding on TikTok has driven more growth than polished ads, turning viral moments into real wholesale orders. This is a grounded, practical conversation about building a physical product brand in today's market without huge funding or without pretending it's all sunshine and rainbows. So stick around. There's a lot in here for founders navigating retail. So let's get into this episode.
Right, well, welcome to the eCom at One podcast. You've not had to come too far, have you, today?
No, super easy for me. 20 minutes on the train. Great.
So you've literally come from where I used to go to school.
Yeah, Newark.
Quite a few years ago. I used to go to Newark every day, 5 days a week, most weeks, to Newark. So yeah, not too far away. Obviously, we're in Lincoln here at eCom 1 HQ. But thank you for coming in to see us.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to keep it local.
Yes, isn't it? It's quite rare in this space.
It's rare.
Obviously, where we are, we're trying to bring a lot of brands to Lincoln and a lot of brands on the podcast to highlight Lincoln and Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire, of course, where you're from. Yeah. So it's lovely to have somebody very, very, very local on, literally 20 minutes away, which is very rare. They're normally maybe on a Zoom in San Francisco or wherever it may be. So Riviera Iced Tea, a brand that a few of the team here have been shouting about, and Carrie Ann, who works here, sort of said, we've got to get the lady on from Riviera Iced Tea. I was like, iced tea? I am a massive, massive fan of iced tea from my travels, especially in Vietnam. It's a drink that I was sort of introduced to probably about 4 or 5 years ago. So obviously, my understanding is you sort of set this up at uni, and very, very quickly, sort of 4 years later now, you've got a lot of listings nationally in a lot of retail brands. But I'm intrigued about maybe some of the trickier times. We could tell a success story from the beginning. But amongst those 4 years, has there been some challenging times that you've had to go through?
Loads and loads. And I've never one shy away from it. Probably the biggest one. We'll go straight for the biggest one. About 12 months after launching, I lost 12 grand to a manufacturer. And obviously 12 months after launching, that's all my profits. Wow. So, I'd grafted for a year, and I'm not gonna lie, the first year in business is when you're in products anyway, is sunshine and rainbows, because you're on market stalls. Yeah. People are loving the product. There's not really worries. You've not got employees to pay. Yeah. It's probably the easiest time in business, despite sales being low. It was my first real test, and I sold out of products after a year, which was incredible. But obviously I was sold out in summer, so I was panicking about having no sales that year. And just complete naivety, went for a manufacturer who showed a lot of red flags. And, it was, I do massively blame myself for it, because looking back, I think, and when I tell this story, I'm thinking, what an idiot. Like the things I put up with and agreed to and things like that. But, I think sometimes you have to learn. And me being, I was 22 at the time, you don't realize there's bad people out there. And, even if you think you do, you just think it won't happen to me, or, we're chatting over the phone every day. They won't stab me in the back when we're getting on face to face and, having a laugh. And yeah, it was a harsh thing to learn year one, but almost good that it happened early, because it was £12,000, which in the grand scheme of things, I mean, if it happened now, it'd be in the £100,000. So
Yeah, the scale
you
of
know, you
things.
scale, and yeah, it was. And at the time, obviously, that is relative. So
Yeah.
it was all my profits. It felt like the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I learned and I came back from it. And it was my worst day in business when I found out. And well, to be honest, probably one of the worst days of my life. I felt awful.
Yeah.
But a month later, I had the best day in business. I got the co-op listing. And it just shows, you know, how up and down business is. They say it's a mountain, and it really is. And I almost feel quite a bit of relief that the best day can come after the worst. So I feel like if it happens again, I'm always quite aware of.
Right, okay, that was another bad day, or another lesson that I've learned. Maybe a 50 grand lesson this time. Hopefully not, but yeah, I think in those moments, obviously, very, very challenging. The end of the world is here. You've lost all the cash. You've worked so hard to make the £12,000 in that instance, so it doesn't matter what it is, but it's everything in that moment. And more so, you've trusted somebody, and they've done, shafted you, basically. Is how I would, sorry to put it that way, but
Exactly.
but it happens, doesn't it? It doesn't it? But then I guess, you know, step back a week, a month, you know, in the moment things are very difficult, but a month or so down the line, it's like, do you know what? We're flying. Yeah.
Exactly. And that was the time when I debated, is this for me? You know, I mean, almost a thing with me is like, at the time, I think a lot of times in business, you when you doubt yourself, you think public perception. I don't want my business to fail. Everybody's going to know my business has failed. And I almost saw that as I had a bit of a get out of jail free card there, because if I wrapped it up after that, everyone knows that's not my fault, because I've just lost 12 grand to a dodgy guy. And I did debate it. And a lot of people say, you know, oh yeah, I was so driven on the goal. But there was probably a few days where I said, is this for me? And obviously after that, I was like, you know what, I could end it here, but personally, I've not given it my all, because there is a way I can get out of this, and there is a way I can get some more money, and I wouldn't be able to live with it if I did give it up. So yeah, I had a few days of doubt, and then.
So a great lesson early on then for you, but you're learning. You know, and we could all list for the games. I remember once I was like, I'm going to start importing. I'm going to import, and and we're importing computers, and I was the smartest guy. You know, I was like, oh yeah, I met this manufacturer, very similar. And back then, computer mices, you know, they had a ball in them. Probably you don't remember them, but they're balls. They're all optical now. So, but if you imported them built, you had to pay a certain tax on them. But if you bought them in component part, they came in as spares, so you didn't have to pay the certain tax on them. So it's like, I'll get the mice external, the internal, bring them together, we'll build them. Bought 10,000 mice. The balls didn't fit. Wow. Short version is they went in the skip. The manufacturer wouldn't speak to me after that. That was that. Again, similar thing. But then it's like, right, okay, now we know the detail. We've got to sort of cross the T's, dot the I's, and so forth. An expensive one, but it's you know, you learn, don't you? So I think going to the product then, I think obviously very, very popular product, I think iced tea, but I think some people see it as maybe a premium type product. You know, what have you had to sort of how do you sort of promote a premium product in maybe a slightly challenging market at the moment?
I think it's all about it's about who you're targeting, and you know, I created the brand to be a premium version of what is on the market at the moment, because the first instance was getting it into cafes, bars and restaurants as a non-alcoholic alternative. And when we first launched the brand, eCom wise, D2C, we were targeting iced tea lovers, Lipton, people who love Lipton but maybe just want to try a different brand. And that was great in year one, but like you say, times are getting tougher. It's getting more and more expensive for kind of ads, and we kind of had to look at who is willing to pay a price for a drink, and who sees a drink as almost a necessity rather than a luxury. And that was people who are trying to actively cut down alcohol, and people who, you know, they're so used to having a drink on a Friday night, or maybe a bit of a dependent on a drink on a Friday night. They need something exciting. They need something slightly different to take them away from that. And so they will pay the price. They will pay £1.80 for a drink that they know is, you know, it's exciting, but it's refreshing, it's tasty. And it's they will happily drink it and feel like they're drinking a mojito, like our raspberry and mint is kind of modelled off.
One of my favourites.
Yeah, so it's like it's about how you target it, and it's about who sees it as a necessity or as something that will add to their life rather than just a luxury.
So you've positioned it more as a alcoholic alternative rather than a, maybe, trying to think really, more than a sort of luxury soft drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it depends on who you have your target market, you have your ideal customer, but everybody considers it a different thing.
Yeah.
So, somebody who is relatively wealthy, they wouldn't consider that a luxury. They wouldn't consider it a luxury drink because they're used to spending, £50, £60 on a bottle of wine. So they wouldn't consider it a luxury. But other people would because it's out of their price range. And that's absolutely fine that people consider it, different. Like I would call it a premium drink because I don't, I'm a 25-year-old girl. I don't have a lot of disposable income.
Yeah.
But other people, they do. So yeah, it's all about who you're targeting and who your customer is.
So talking about that more there, I'm just thinking of the listeners thinking, well, okay, great. We're targeting the market of people potentially that are looking for an alcoholic alternative. Step me through and step our listeners through maybe, how you've done that and the sort of, right, okay, that's a great niche to go for, maybe, at the beginning, obviously very much so now. I think you've proven that. But in the moment, sat there at home thinking, right, we're gonna go after this, then step us through maybe the couple of year journey of how that's worked and how have you managed to do that successfully.
So a lot of it was kind of based on flavors, and that's what we always had in the mind. So I did launch a peach and lemon just because I'm always of the mindset that you're trying to convince a customer to try a new brand. It's very difficult to also convince them to try a new flavor they've never heard of. I do feel sometimes I'm quite lucky that iced tea, although I think that the product's innovative because it's got different flavors and it's better for you, iced tea is an established market. Everybody knows what it is. Majority of people. There's not masses of education involved. Whereas if you bring a completely new product no one's heard of, there's a lot of barriers you've got to overcome as well. So we did just launch with the Classic 2, convince people on the flavors, then the brand. But always in my mind was to launch the kind of more sophisticated flavors. So raspberry and mint was within 8 months of launching. So it was very much based off a mojito. And then the rhubarb and ginger was based off the popular gin combo. So it's kind of
it's like you've been at our house on a Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. It was like my house, my parents' house. So yeah, it's modelling it off popular flavours, and they mix really well as mixers if people wanted to mix them with alcohol. So that was always kind of in the back.
Yeah,
of
so you've got the option then. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of kind of targeting, we do a lot with ads with email list about kind of mocktails and dressing it up and things like seasonality makes it easy. Christmas for the non-drinkers makes it easy. Dry Jan, do a big campaign in Dry Jan. And then that kind of pulls it through from there. And obviously, campaigns change. Summer's kind of sells itself as iced tea. People want a cold drink in summer. So it's all about the campaign, all about the time of year.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm completely with you. But I'm really intrigued. I'm sure the listeners will be about the listings. We talk a lot about the D2C side, and we're going to cover some of that absolutely. But we get a lot of different brands on the podcast, a lot of brands listing, and getting those listings, get some of those core listings. You talked about, some of the independents, some of the bigger retailers, some of the real flagship retailers as a whole. I can imagine sort of literally walking into the local shop and going, "Hey, maybe at the beginning." I might be wrong, but some of the things you're doing now, I think, I'm really interested in that journey from maybe that first couple of listings to then some of the big deals when you went home and said, "Oh my God, Mum, you won't believe what we've got." And then where you are now and how some of the advice you would give to people that are trying to get listings.
Yeah, so there's a few brands who they go straight in supermarket shelves, and a lot of people also think they're going to do that. It's not as simple, but for me, if you go into a retail listing, you've not got any customer base, you will be lost on shelf because you'll be in the top shelf or the bottom shelf. If you lose a listing, you're not getting it. It's very difficult to get it back, especially if it's the same buyer. And it's very difficult to get any other listings because everybody knows you've been delisted. So for me, I went with a very cautious, very gradual approach. And that's probably the benefit of bootstrapping as well. I could do that. I could take my time. So I started on market stalls and then went to local cafes, and it was literally my local cafe down the road walked in with samples. I said, I made this, you know, we make it in England, but it's stored down the road in Newark. Can we just try it? And so I started with 3 there and then just built it out, built out the social media, built out the website. And because we are the only premium iced tea in the UK, we got a lot of organic traction. And luckily with the product, we could send it abroad. But a lot of it was feet on the ground, walking in, giving them samples, telling them the story. And I do think as a founder, if with other small business, if you can get face to face with someone, you sell them on the story, not the product. Because at the end of the day, if they want to stock Lipton, they're getting a much higher margin.
Yeah.
So I have to sell them on almost me as well. And so we kind of found like the best approach was a mixture of calling and in person. And it kind of just grew from there. You know, we started with the ones that were kind of easy to land. So cafes, we refined where I knew the product sold. So it sells really well in kind of coastal locations, tourist locations, especially in the summer. So we do a lot in Norfolk, a lot on the coast, Cornwall, a lot in the university towns as well, because that's, you know, our target customer age. And then we kind of went for the slightly bigger ones. So the ones that were slightly harder to get into. So Chatsworth, they're notoriously difficult to get into.
How did that come about?
I'd had to do a bit of legwork on that one. So the emails weren't really getting me anywhere. They do a food and drink festival for 2 months of the year. And you kind of go in for 3 days in May and 3 days in July. And I did them. And it's an hour drive each way, over an hour drive each way. 3 days, and I sat there and I recorded every bit of sales data we made, and every single customer that came over to buy from me, I said, you know, if you mention it at the till that you like it, that would be really good, because we're trying to get stock
Just to get Chatsworth aware.
Basically to get Chatsworth to know that we were selling. And the good thing about it is they buy through you, but when they've bought in the store, which they can also walk through to get to where the market is, they have to go up to the till. So they were going up to the till with my can in their hands, and it was brilliant. And I recorded all my sales data, and I then hounded the buyer with all my sales data. I said, you know, we've sold over 1,000 cans this weekend. Like that could be in your store. And it took 3 months of that. I had to do the next one, but eventually got listed and we've been there for.
So you're there physically in there at their event twice. You're obviously talking again to know the team on the ground, the Chatsworth team, and then the people that are coming up. Obviously you're chatting to them, but then mentioning to them when you go to pay, mention, what was it, sorry? Mention.
Kind of say that they like it, they've bought it.
Tasted it on the store.
You know, I was saying to the customers, like, if you want to crack it open while you're waiting at the tills, like, you know, that would help.
That's just brilliant.
You know what I mean? I think it's people buy off people. We're chatting to the customers anyway. They're like, oh, where are you based? And I'm like, not too far away, Nottinghamshire. And, you know, people were happy to help. And it's all about that. And the thing with Chatsworth is if you are in there, you can use that to get elsewhere, because almost farm shop buyers know, oh, if they're in there, it's something good.
So you're on the ground, you've done your 3 days, and your next 3 days, and you know, getting everybody to mention it and so forth. And, you know, and then you reached out to the buyer.
Yeah.
So, did you know the buyer before? Did you meet them while you were there at all? Or?
Yeah. So I met them while they were there. So I kind of met the junior buyer, lovely, massively got her on side. She was a big advocate for the brand.
Yeah.
It was then convincing one above. So met him briefly. They keep themselves.
So you went back in then to meet them face to face, or you met him at the same event?
They were at the event, luckily. Kind of had to just grab them as they walked past.
Seize the moment.
I just jumped in front. But yeah, I mean, buyers, they keep themselves. They get hounded all the time. I completely understand. So you've just got to be personal, and everyone has different approaches. And I think it's a massive fine line of not annoying people, but hassling them enough. And you know, people get told to piss off because they're so annoying. And I've got friends who will literally send gift baskets and all sorts to the buyers, and it's that approach. There's people who will go down and knock on the door until they get seen, and it's trying not to be annoying.
So when you left, obviously you met the more senior there, and then did they agree something there? Or you still had to have to follow up and still crunch the email, phone, or was it almost?
It was still a lot of email follow-ups. Almost committing, I will do the same again next year, but obviously through them, so they'll get the margin.
So you'll be there, but they're getting the margin.
They'll get so I won't get masses out of it other than the wholesale price. But yeah, just it's all about it's kind of following up enough. They've got hundreds of brands doing the same thing, so you always just want to. It's all about timing. You want to land at the top of their inbox. And I mean, I had the issue with another like slightly bigger supermarket, and he hadn't replied for 5 weeks, and I was sending an email every kind of 5 days. And then I sent one and he replied within about 30 seconds because I obviously just happened to be at the top of his inbox that time.
Yeah.
He almost, the way he replied was like he hadn't seen any of the others, like, you know, and it's all about timing.
So then, I mean, that's just brilliant. I just love it. It's basically hustling, aren't you? In a great way. You're getting in front of people with a brand. You're getting the product in front of people. Great product, firstly, you know, with a great message. And then ultimately you are just being yourself, and you know, and you'll love your brand. You're getting people to try it, and then you're chatting to everybody at these events, getting to know everybody. And obviously, there's another probably 50 brands in the room, maybe trying to do the same. So you've got to stand out. You've got to have the energy about yourself. And at the end of the day, you know, we talk about it a lot on the podcast. You go into an events, getting the brand out there, and it's amazing what can happen. So obviously, you got Chatsworth from that.
Yeah.
And then where are we now? Let's maybe just give the listeners a scale of the sort of the listings and the sort of retail side.
The brand's in about 400 plus independents. It changes kind of every day.
Well done. That is freaking brilliant.
It's getting there.
Well done. That is amazing.
The brand's in like a lot of wholesalers, so they have we have customers through them who I don't always get sales data on, so I don't know where I am exactly. But we're in places like Holcombe Hall, which is at miles from here, and that was a big win as well. And their venues, they've got about 5 venues, so and that, again, perfect for us. Tourist attraction, summer's heaving.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's absolutely perfect for the brand. So that was a huge one. We're in a lot of like garden centres and just great cafes, restaurants, and a little pub chain, which was a big win for me because, again, you know, going with the whole non-alcoholic thing, pubs are exactly where I would love to be, and restaurants, and they are abroad. Obviously, they have pubs abroad, but restaurants, every restaurant abroad, all the menus, not in the UK. And I know it would do well from the ones we're in, from the restaurants we're in, because there isn't that non-carbonated, non-alcoholic option. It's all Coke, lemonade, fizzy. So it ticks all the boxes. It's essentially an adult J2O. Like that's what we're looking in the same kind of category. So that's the people, but they are the biggest people to convince, because a lot of the times cafe owners, they tend to be women or they tend to be slightly younger. Pubs, landlords, decision makers, middle-aged men who drink beer and they want beer. And it's very hard to convince them. So that's kind of the probably the biggest barrier at the brand at the moment, because we've identified that as a great place to be. There's no seasonality with the pubs either. No one's ordering a coffee in winter, so there's not the seasonality drop like we have in cafes. But it's the convincing has been tough.
Well, good luck with that. We'll get you back on when I'm next over in wherever it may be, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Riviera's in France or whatever.
One day.
So you mentioned email, obviously emailing for the purpose of getting listings, but let's flip to D2C. Let's flip to eCom. You know, what's working well on the eCom side at the moment? You obviously mentioned email, so feel free to go into email, but I would love to know what else is working as well.
I'd say the organic content's working really well. So I do 2 pages. So I do a lot on TikTok. Just tends to be where our customers are. And we have the brand, which is, you know, quite a little bit more salesy, just tells about the non-alcoholic, the benefits, things like that. I then have a personal branding page, and I personally think personal branding is the way forward. It's huge at the moment. And it's a little bit chaotic. I show all the downs. I posted me like crying when I lost my court case, all of this. People love it. They love to see.
Court case. What was this?
Oh, with the manufacturer.
Oh, this is yeah.
And it's, you know, it's people want to see that you're a person. They want to see the raw things. They want to see the issues. They want to see the things you've overcome. The reality.
Yeah.
And that has got me more business than any other marketing tool. Anything polished I've done, that has won me the most business, because, and even, you know, asking for help. I had a bit short dated stock last year that I needed to shift, and I had a budget supermarket come in and want it for 10p. Well, I can't make it for 10p. I would have been losing money per can, but obviously it was short shelf life. So I was debating, you know, do I just shift it all? I put it out on TikTok and I said, you know, I'm getting a bit panicky because I've got this pallet. I need to get rid of this pallet in a month. Something like 3 days later, I got an email from one of my wholesalers who they work in all the offices in London, the big offices. And one of the offices took the full pallet. And it was for a Women's Day campaign, and they'd seen me on TikTok.
We'd have took it.
And they took it. And for full price. For full price. And so obviously I nearly debated selling it would have barely made anything on it. And I made
But
you
your,
know, quadruple
personal brand TikTok
personal
helped you
branding.
to reach out
'Cause
to.
I just asked for help.
Yeah.
I said, if anybody wants to order, wants to try it, now is the time because we need to shift it.
Yeah.
And somebody took the lot.
Yeah.
Just because they had a connection or they that was their job, or and that's the thing, asking for help, it works. And I think too many people try to be too polished nowadays, and actually people are past that. We're so past the polished.
We hear this a lot, you know. It's obviously personal branding, fantastic, but then there's still obviously a lot of it, like that personality of the founder and whether they're willing to put themselves forward. And I get it. You know, we've had a lot of founders on that are, you know, doing exceptionally well with the personal branding. You know, millions of views per TikTok and so forth, and you know, building unbelievable brands. But then other founders that are also doing very, very well that like to be behind the scenes more, and so it's not necessary for everybody.
And I think the thing is, you know, there's a bit of a trap of you want the brand to be the brand,
Yeah.
and you support it with the behind the scenes. You don't want the brand to be you,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's so easy to have issues nowadays with saying the wrong thing or
Yeah.
maybe getting seen doing the wrong thing. And if the brand is tied to you, it's a very risky move for investors, for stockists. So it's about propping it up with you, not taking center stage. Like the brand is the center stage. You're behind it. So that was a big thing. And also the other thing for me was I was very worried at first about coming across unprofessional or like I didn't know what I was doing. But actually people, no one knows what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Everyone is learning. And I got over that quite quickly because actually I found buyers were loving the videos and they were like, you know, we want to support a young girl who's like just in the trenches.
Figuring it out.
Yeah.
But genuinely wants to do well and do the right thing and build a brilliant brand. But along the way, there's some hiccups and I'm talking about them. And
exactly. And you only have to spend 5 minutes with me in a sales pitch to know we have got very good systems in place.
Yeah.
Just because I'm, you know, getting up at 5 minutes to 9 doesn't mean we're not a very well run brand. So yeah.
Okay. And then email then. Are you doing anything sort of what would I say? Anything that you would like to share with email to obviously on the D2C side?
So I love email. It's been an absolute goldmine for me. I definitely need to do more. Struggling with timing a little bit with it, but it's been massive to prop up our kind of meta ads. The issue with obviously drinks so expensive. Don't really see a return until healthy margins by 3. But the issue was people weren't buying. To get to their third purchase, it was 90 days, maybe more.
So you're not in profit till 90 days.
Yeah, which cash flow is tough. And margins are so low in food and drink. So it was just non-negotiable. With email, we can obviously get that time down.
Yeah.
We're encouraging people to buy again. Because they are running out. It's just we're not on the radar. Like they just don't think to do it until they have another occasion. So the email is really kind of, it's reminding people, it's propping up the fact that we're almost like a daily evening drink rather than, if you're going to a party, you can take 1 can. So it's been huge with that. And also again, with the emails just being quite raw, just, you know, saying, like we're trying to shift this stock, like just quite
again sharing that personal side of the reality. Right, we've got a lot of raspberry and whatever. Do you want to?
And also giving back to. So whenever I have a viral post, I email my customers and say, "You were here first. Here's 10% off." Like I just think they want to know, like their day one. I've got all these new customers coming in, which is brilliant. But the ones that are on purchase 3 deserve to be kind of thanked for that because they've sticked with the brand. And a lot of the times they're sticking with the brand. Again, we mentioned it's a luxury product. They're sticking with the brand because they want to support. Yeah. Because they could go out and get a slightly different drink.
But they're buying into the story of the brand and they're interested in what's happening next. I was supporting this young girl from Newark started this brand back in 3 years. I bought a can at market and now she's doing this. And now that's all we drink in the house. And I told my friends and now she's doing this. Have you seen what she's doing now? And that. So are you doing things with subscription? So you can subscribe and...
Yeah, we do. Again, I need to put more time behind it. A lot more kind of messaging behind it as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have people who have been subscribed for a couple of years, still going. We just don't really have the uplift in it.
Yeah.
I think maybe we need to look to do a campaign. And the other thing is, I would really like for this year is to get the email subscriber list up. Because it's not anything crazy at the moment. I think we're on about 5,000, but the brand's been going quite a while. Like I've been neglecting it.
I think when you get the subscription dialed in, we'll sign up and we'll have our regular delivery from you for the team. Yeah, I think because for business, we're buying all sorts of things for for the team, for food and drink and so forth. And I think that'll be, we'll definitely subscribe. Where you let us know when that's all up and running. So great shares. So you've shared an awful lot there. A very, very insightful journey. I think. I love it when we get somebody on that's sort of started with an idea and now 300-400 retail listings, sort of really getting to grips with the D2C side. I think what I'm intrigued about is, obviously it's quite a, as you've alluded to, a lower end price point. Costs in everywhere are sort of rising, and some challenges, obviously raw materials, labor and so forth. How are you sort of navigating that? How are you maybe absorbing that, or how are you navigating that?
It's really tough. I think the issue is suppliers are getting squeezed in every direction. And, I'm in retailers. Retailers maintain their 40%. Obviously they have the issues elsewhere, minimum wage costs, rising costs, things like that. But on their food and drink listings, they're maintaining their 40%. So, my manufacturers are putting their prices up to cover their wage bills, but I can't put my price up to retailers because there is obviously there's that barrier of they can't put the price up any higher. We can't charge more than £2 a can. People don't have the money to spend more than that on a drink. So I'm having to absorb the cost, and it's learning where to compromise. So I've never compromised on the ingredients, and I'm not going to, because that's what makes Riviera.
Yeah.
It's that taste. I've not compromised on margin where possible, so I've maintained my price. We're just having to compromise elsewhere to get that bottom line up. So things like, unfortunately, the marketing, having to go more organic, a bit more guerrilla marketing.
Yeah.
And just, kind of pulling on kind of customers we've got, using a lot of word of mouth, things like that, because it is really tough. And you've just got to make sacrifices where you can, really. But again, the knock on, like, I could talk all day on it, I won't go into it. The knock on of how the hospitality venues are struggling, I think people forget. They can see their local cafe closing down because they go in it every week and it's suddenly gone. But they don't see the fact that cafe's closed down. They would have spent $5,000 with me every few months.
Yeah, the knock on to
it's the knock on to everybody else, the supply chain. I mean, the staff who work there, like, everybody is, so many more people have been affected than just the cafes because of how tough it is for the cafes.
What do we do? It's like, I see it, obviously we're right in the center of Lincoln here, and I know of a lovely lady that opened a cafe not far from here, and unbelievable sort of cafe she opened, and she was sort of TikTok and Insta every day talking about what she was doing and getting people in, and beautiful place, real nice outdoor area, make beautiful coffees and other things, and beautiful spot. She's just sharing her life, sharing her soul with it all. And then, I could see, you could just see that she's struggling. I walk past, there's hardly anybody in there. I'm like, oh man, and we go in a bit, but we can't, we do what we can. And then she closed, and it's like, oh man, I really felt for her, because I could see she's sort of given it literally her life was this cafe. It's literally like 200, 300 yards from here. And it's like, you could see she was pushing. Do you see sort of, I don't know even know what the question is, but it's like, guys, pretty tough, isn't it? So obviously you're supplying a lot of that market. You get some great customers, build some great relationships, but underlying there's this, call it what we like, cost of living, increased pressure from different costs, the rates, the electric and so forth, all the stuff that all businesses have.
It's never ending for them.
Trying to find extra margin somewhere. Or obviously you go down to nothing and you're working for nothing. That's not sustainable. Obviously you might have to do that through certain times, or you end up doing, you adjust your workforce, and like you say, you're doing a lot of the stuff yourself, but really you want to hire people to do things. So it's trying to get that balance, isn't it? But it's tough, isn't it? Really, really tough.
It's heartbreaking, because I obviously go in, there's quite a few I deliver locally, obviously elsewhere I don't, but just the local ones, because it's just down the road. And I go in, it breaks my heart, because I remember before the change in government, they were so excited. They were like, things are going to get better because people are going to be paid more. We're going to have more disposable income. And the pessimist in me was I just don't think things can change that quick. And they've got worse. And I go in again now, and there's nothing for them to hope for. They've got years of this more, and it's really tough. But it's also interesting on the flip side to see who is doing well. and to see what they're doing. And I've got a cafe near me, which is brilliant, and they're always heaving. Like, I don't go in. I will deliver on a Wednesday at like 11 and they're heaving. They're brilliant. And they've had to really adapt, but it's pretty cool. So they've gone slightly younger audience, because uni students still have the disposable income. They're not having to spend as much. They maybe have jobs, but they've got no dependents. They're not really thinking about saving for a mortgage at that age. And they're kind of going for the younger audience. They're doing a lot of takeouts to avoid the VAT. And they do hot dessert nights, and people queue around the car park for it in the rain, because all it is a tray of school cake with some custard. But we come out after our dinner and we queue.
I'll be there.
Yeah, this is a thing, and it's reasonable pricing. But it is heaving, and they are brilliant, and they've just adapted, and it is. I mean, I don't think that's what they want to be doing on a Thursday night. They don't want to be stood in the rain selling school cake with custard. But it's propping up the quieter times, and they're brilliant, that cafe, and they're seeing the
that's
rewards.
in Newark, is it?
It is, and they don't have a lot of seating, but it's heaving every time.
Just popular. Yeah. Well, it's been brilliant having you on. I think as a business owner, we're all juggling so many things, aren't we? So many things, like this never maybe stops. And I always like to ask the question of sort of what keeps you up at night. You know, maybe there's certain numbers and stats and things that you're focused on, but there's maybe two answers here. You know, there's like what are the financial things that maybe keep you up at night, but then, you know, maybe what's the last couple of things that have actually kept you up at night?
I think the boring answer is just P&L.
Yeah.
You know, obsessing over the P&L. Are we going to make our targets this month? So for me, we're just starting to bring on investment now.
Yeah.
And before it was like, you know, we've got enough to pay for our next production. That's fine.
Yeah.
Now we've got investors that are, you know, tracking the P&L, tracking the revenue. And obviously that's always something that keeps you up at night. Where can we find that extra grand to hit a target? And things like that. Where can we pull that through from? And then it's just things like winning listings, and you know, and there's a lot of rejection. I'm currently waiting on an answer today. You know, it's things you think about, and fingers crossed. And I've had that one big break where we got into all the Lincolnshire co-ops, and that was amazing. And I can't wait to have that feeling again of winning. Like it was incredible, that feeling, and that's what I'm thinking. I want that feeling again.
Buzz of the deal.
Yeah,
yes.
I want to get another deal.
You've done the graft of this particular listing, and now you're waiting for the answer. And
Waiting
then
for
where's
the
the next
answer.
one? We get that. What's the, like playing chess in your mind? If we get that one, then I've got that. This one's coming, so I need a week on that one. And
I'm making it work when it's in there, because that's the important thing. The easy thing, it's not easy. It's been really hard. But the easy thing is getting the listing. It's after that. You've got to get the customers. You've got to get the sales.
yeah.
So
You've got to keep the listing.
But I love that bit. That's fun.
So would you say you sleep quite well?
When things aren't, unless there's anything disastrously wrong, I'm pretty good at getting my time, putting things to the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I do a lot of sport. It's the only time that I don't think about the business.
Yeah.
So when I'm running around on the hockey pitch, I don't think about it because I'm running.
Was that at Durham University? You were doing a lot of hockey?
I did that, yeah. I play football as well, so
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sundays are my time.
What did you do at Durham? I'm curious.
I did criminology.
Criminology. Ah, yeah. My
So
my
nothing to
son's
do with
girlfriend's
business.
at Durham. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even do business at A level or anything.
Yeah.
I love Durham, and I obviously it was very ruined by COVID, my experience, but
Of course.
yeah, so it was a shame. But I loved the sport, and
You have a bit of time there then, but you
had a year
had to
first
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Second year was strikes, so we didn't have uni, and then COVID, we were sent home in March, so we missed kind of the nice bit where the sun's shining. But you know, what can you do? I wouldn't have started the business without COVID, so
Yeah.
I can't complain too much.
Yeah. No, we've got a lot to thank COVID for,
Gee, some of us do, you know.
especially if you had an e-commerce business for that time and an e-commerce agency. It was
Oh yeah, I
interesting
bet.
times, but good times. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. We like to finish every episode with a book recommendation. Do you have a book to recommend to our listeners?
Okay, so I'm not a big reader, but there's one I want to read. So I haven't read it, but it's called The 10 Commandments of Business Failure, and it's next on my list.
Yeah.
And it's from the ex-president of Coca-Cola, and it's essentially all the failings these incredible businessmen and businesswomen have made, and how to avoid them, and how the people who had the failures but now are up there, and what they say they should have done differently. And I just think, what's the best way to learn from people's mistakes?
Especially Coca-Cola, because it's
Exactly,
you know,
Joe.
similar.
Brilliant for me.
Yeah, should be a few very specific tips in there for your industry. Well, thank you so much for coming on. For those that want to find out more about Riviera, more about yourself, what's the best way to do that?
On the website, it's just rivieraicedtea.com. All
Yeah.
our socials are the same, Riviera Iced Tea, and you can follow me on TikTok and see me doing my day in the lives.
Well, I'll make sure you all do that, guys. Right, well, thanks for coming in. Thank you.
For having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to this podcast. So you're always the first to know when a new episode is released. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next one.